Rob Kendall speaking with Tyler Bless, the head coach of the Plainfield Quakers. Coach, how's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
Hey, we're doing just great today. All right, so obviously we are getting ready for week number 1 of high school football, and I'm curious before we get into Terre, Haute South and the game coming up there. I'm curious, kind of the couple weeks it's been since we last chatted. Kind of how you feel the team has progressed and how you feel like you're heading towards the start of the season.
Yeah, I think in the last 2 weeks before we've had our last conversation, we had 1 full week, or really 2 full weeks of fall camp. One of those being the last week of summer, and then the second one being the first full week of school year. So it's been a good solid 2 weeks. We've done a lot in that short amount of time, and I think our team is starting to progress and trend in the right direction. Obviously, we still got some things to clean up, and we're not perfect, but our kids are showing up every single day, giving great effort and have good attitudes, and we're going to continue to coach those guys until someone tells us to stop.
Well, hopefully nobody does tell you to stop.
Right.
What are kind of the things you look for in those 2 weeks? When we talked about the preseason show, hey, here's who some of the guys are going to be. Here's some of the things we're looking forward to. Here's some of the things we kind of feel we're going to be good at. What are you looking for in this 2 week time frame?
Yeah, I mean, I probably learned from the coaches that I used to work for and have worked for in the past of, try to treat, fall camp as some situational football. So you're trying to, maybe give the kids some football situations where they've got to think, where you've got to include some special teams, you've got to include some, spots on the field where your offense or your defense has to execute to either keep the drive going, or you have to, use the special teams to switch the side of the field. But I think our staff has done a tremendous job of putting our kids and coaching our kids up on just the football IQ of, okay, if this happens, then this is what you need to expect next. So we've tried to use June and July to install and rep all the things that we need to, and then you kind of use that first week or so, 2 weeks of August to start executing some situations, starting to put some guys into some concrete spots, and then you get some scrimmages here, and you're getting ready for week 1 like we are right now.
Is week 1 harder or less hard than the other weeks? And what I mean by this is you have a whole summer to prepare, but you're preparing the team to play football for a whole year. So obviously Terre Haute South is going to be your first opponent, but in a weird way you're trying to figure out who the players are going to be, who's going to be our starters, who's good at what. Is week 1 harder, more hard, or is it just, hey, it's just another week?
Probably a little combination of both, to be honest with you. This week 1's a little bit different because we've not played Terre Haute South in prior seasons, so it's a brand new opponent. Don't have a whole lot of film on them, so you kind of just have to play the cards that you're dealt in terms of that, but also you're still trying to mainly have big focus on your own team, and hey, if we can execute what we need to, then the only team that can stop us is Plainfield. So a little bit of both, but probably this year a little bit different just because of it's a new opponent. We never faced them before, and don't have a whole lot of video on them.
It's not a trip in the sense of you're not going across the country, but it's also not in your backyard. I'm curious, how that kind of weighs on you having to go make that long trip down 40 if that's the way you go, or 70 if that's the way you go. I guess it's probably 70 these days, but what it's like to have that kind of long trip to start the regular season.
Yeah, that's we were fortunate to find an opponent that was still close in distance in terms of not having to leave a school day early to get on a bus and travel 2.5 hours. So it being maybe a little over an hour trip is doable, but you certainly have to still adjust to it. We've got some situations where that game probably will start at 7:30 just because of some transportation delays that we have here, but I'm excited about it because it's still a common opponent that is in our class. We would face them in regionals if we were to have success into the postseason. So it's a little bit farther, but it's not a 2.5 hour bus ride where you gotta really focus on attention span and all those things that go into a longer bus ride.
Yeah, I guess that's important to note for everybody hearing this and people who may be tuning in on Friday night or people who may be making the journey. It will be probably a later start time. Do we know when that'll be announced for sure?
Whenever my boss tells me it's decided. So I should know by tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay, very good. Well, people keep an eye on that. By the time this coach's show is posted on Monday, hopefully we'll have an answer for that. But be aware of that it may be a 7:30 start time. All right. Well, let's start with this. Obviously, as we look ahead to week number 1, we're on the road at Terre Haute. What do the Braves bring to the table from the limited film you've been able to see?
Yeah. So talking briefly about their season last year, they finished 6-4. Lost a heartbreaker in the first round of the sectionals versus Franklin Community, who's obviously in our conference. Terre Haute South had a chance to win with a field goal with about probably under 5 seconds left, and it was blocked, and Franklin was able to move on in the postseason. So they had a very solid year. They were senior led in some key positions, so obviously some of those guys have graduated. But the film we have on them from this year is a scrimmage from their Friday night versus they did a 4-team jamboree with South Vermilion, Northview, Terre Haute North, and then obviously Terre Haute South. So they got reps versus Northview and Terre Haute North, and were able to dive into that as a staff yesterday, and here again today to kind of start to really finalize some of our scouting reports. But it's a team that's got some weapons. The running back is a transfer kid, but his name is Amir Holman. He's about 6'1", 190 pounds, and our staff was able to get eyes on him this past spring at it's a SOS camp here that's been going on for 20, 25 plus years that we were able to host at Plainfield High School. So we're able to see some of those kids in that springtime in April and May to maybe just get eyes on him. But he's a very solid running back for them. He's got some ability to catch it out of the backfield and make some plays with his feet. Obviously, their quarterback's a junior, Brady Wilson. Does a really good job of just kind of managing their offense and finding guys that are open and obviously delivering the football. But he doesn't just throw it up for grabs. He's very smart about where he wants to go with it. And then on the defense, they've got some bigger guys up front that we're going to have some focus on with our offensive linemen. Really the first people that kind of stand out on the defense is their strong safety. He is a senior as well, and he's a guy that wants to kind of fly down and put his nose in it and try to make as many tackles as possible. So we'll have our work cut out for us, but like I said earlier, if we can continue to focus on us and have a great week of practice and we can execute, we got to put ourselves in really good situations on Friday evening.
How much, and we used to talk with Coach Woodard about this all the time, but how much for you week to week is, hey, we've got to kind of alter what we do based on who we're playing, or how much of it is, look, if we do what we do well, that's what's most important, and we're going to win this game. Like, what is the balancing act with that? How much do you change week to week based on the opponent?
I think, the one thing that I kind of try to learn from previous people is just, you coach the program that you're at, you coach where your feet are at, so you can't really put a whole lot of energy and effort on what your opponent does because you don't coach over there. So we're responsible for the players at Plainfield High School, and we're going to coach them to do what we want them to do and how we want them to execute, and we can control that. We can control our attitudes and our efforts, and what Terre Haute South does or any of our opponents this year does, that's kind of them. They have coaches. So we try to put a huge emphasis on control the things you can control, have a great attitude, have great effort, be able to execute what we're asking you to do, and at the end of the day, just go play football and have a bunch of fun. It's a short amount of time, and the opportunities that we get on Friday nights for us to work the 12 months at it that we do. So I try to make that as big of a point of an emphasis week in, week out, more than probably anything else.
All right, Coach. Let's talk about us. And obviously, during the preseason show, we had asked you to kind of just speculate, although you were getting a pretty good idea at that point about some of the names we were going to be hearing on Friday night and some of the names that were going to be making a big difference this year in Plainfield football. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. You kind of, I'm assuming, got your starters kind of ready to go. You know who's going to be at least starting week one in certain positions. At least from the skill positions, what are the names we're going to be hearing, and what do some of these guys bring to the football field on Friday night?
Yeah, so we are, some familiar names, obviously, from last year that are returners, but, Caden Vanderbush will be our one of our outside receivers starting. Isaiah Miller, who's also started last year, will be another one of those receivers for us. Marcos Rivera is a senior. Marcos has had a really good offseason of working his way into that starting spot. And then a guy by the name of Elijah Flowers and Brandon Henry will be rotating in at tight end to kind of, they're a little bit of thunder and lightning at times. One has some really good strengths, and where the other might have a little bit of a weakness here, but it follows up with the opposite. So both of those guys give us great looks in terms of when they're in at tight end. And then running back has been about three guys this summer that has really kind of worked itself out in terms of all those guys getting reps, but names of Luke Starnes, who's a sophomore, Carter Ferguson, who's a senior, and Weston Wyrick, who is a junior. So those are those skill guys, and obviously our quarterback game back, Hunter Newell, has had a great offseason, has had a good summer. Really excited to see what he will do for us this 23 season.
When you talk about the backfield, we see this a lot now in the National Football League. You see some in college too, where it's, hey, we got two guys and they do things kind of different and they alternate. It used to be, hey, you got one dude and he goes and so goes him, so goes the team. Talk a little bit about the balancing approach in the backfield and how that kind of changes maybe what you guys do or the plays you call, or does it at all based on who's in the game?
Yeah, I mean, we try to be very, probably smart about how many reps certain guy goes for a consistent amount of time, just because of the durability that those guys take and the hits that they take. We want those kids to be obviously healthy in late October and into November. So you do have to be smart about the series and reps that you're giving maybe one kid over another. But we feel very strongly about the three that I mentioned on. If we were to put either one of those guys in, we know exactly what we're going to get with those guys in terms of their pass protection and their run game knowledge. So you got to be smart about it, because you don't want to just ride one guy and say, hey, we're gonna give you the ball and we're not gonna take you out. And I'm sure teams do that, and that's great, but we're gonna try to be very articulate about the reps that one gets for a series, so that another guy could be fresh here in the following series. So we're fortunate to have three guys and kind of rotate by committee, so to say.
Wrapping up here on the Tyler Bless Show, week one coming up at Terre, Haute South. Friday night could be a 7:30 start. We'll check for that information. We'll obviously have the broadcast for you live from Terre, Haute South, and we'll look forward to that, whether it's at 7 or 7:30. Coach, let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. I assume you've got kind of everybody in position there as well for week one. I realize it's always subject to change based on what you see on your first Friday night, but to start the season, who are some of the big names and what sort of defense can we look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, we'll be our typical 3-4 multiple, as Coach Stewart says, but our defensive line again has just had a phenomenal summer. We've got enough guys that we're able to rotate some really good, strong bodies in. But I mean, Seth Martin is a returning starter for us at defensive end. Thomas Drains, a junior who did get some playing time last year. And Blue Jedawa is a newcomer for us. He's a junior who's had a very good offseason. And other guys that will rotate in at that defensive line is Jacob Lackey, who's a junior as well. He's coming off of a injured sophomore season, so I'm very happy to see him back and healthy and playing football, because the kid is all in on that. So happy for him. And then the other one is Jason Woodson, who's had a very good offseason, a very good summer. So we really got 5-6 guys to play for that defensive line spot. At linebacker, again, very fortunate to have these guys returning starters for us. Landon Drennan, who's a senior, he can play a stand-up defensive end, and he can also play outside linebacker. Our two inside linebackers, Aiden Crouch, returning starter, is a senior, and then Alex Holtzclaw is a returning starter who's a junior. And then a newcomer for us is Jack Aldridge. Jackson Jr. Has had an awesome off-season as well and has worked his way into that spot. So excited to see what he brings to our defense. And then on the back end of things, it's familiar names that we have heard from past seasons of Caden Vanderbush, Carter Ferguson, like I mentioned earlier, and then some newcomers would be Will Freeman, who's a senior, was banged up last year with an elbow injury, but again has had a very good off season, as well as Carson Cole and Joshua Miller. Both of those young men are juniors in our program. So got some guys that are behind them and that are doing very well. So we've just got to make sure that we're putting the best 11 on the field and playing a very physical defense and pursuing to the football and trying to take away what that offense does best.
All right. Obviously, this is not your first rodeo on Friday nights, but it is in terms of being in charge of the program. Any nerves for you? I mean, it's got to be an exciting time.
Very, very excited. I don't want to try to make it about me. It's really about our players and the kids that work 12 months out of the year to give themselves this opportunity this upcoming Friday. But I'm extremely excited. I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you I was nervous. I'm already nervous, but that's kind of the the life that I live as a head coach. But I kind of expected that. But no, we're looking forward to it. Our kids are just obviously ready to take someone else and go hit someone else on Friday night rather than just the same teammate they've had the opportunity to do that since about June 5th. So we're excited. We got to have a great week of practice and get on the yellow bus on Friday and hopefully go take care of business.
We always try to wrap up our show. Been doing this for many years now, talking about people behind the scenes who make Plainfield football what it is, and obviously it's an incredible program, and you inherit an incredible program. And Coach, maybe this week, I'll let you pick it going forward week to week, but maybe if I pick it this week, just talk a little bit about the Parents Club. They've always been so influential in us being able to do these broadcasts. I know they do just an infinite amount of things for the football program, so maybe you could talk a little bit about the quarterback club, about what the parents of Plainfield football bring to the table, and how they help you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we would not be able to do what we do in a regular season and even postseason football without our parents and without our quarterback club. I mean, yesterday we had our annual freshman JV scrimmage at about 10 a.m. and had parents out there supporting their sons, obviously, but then had parents providing muffins and milk for our varsity and JV players afterwards. So they do a great job. We've been able to fundraise some money this year in different ways to be able to purchase a lot of food and water and Gatorades for our kids here coming up on game nights, for whether that's a Friday night or a Saturday morning for our freshmen and JV. So, we're talking about anywhere from feeding 75 guys to 115 guys plus, 17, 18 coaches. So, we've got our first Thursday night meal coming up here, this Thursday, and it'll be a pasta dinner. And, I know our kids are always excited about that because it's a free meal. There's dirt setting involved, and I don't know if you would find a player on our team that would turn that down. So just very thankful for our parent club, for the officers that do a lot for us, but also just our parents that continue to be behind the scenes and show up and do whatever it takes to make sure that this program is a first-class program, and we try to provide everything that we can for our players to be at their best on game night.
All right, Coach. Well, we're excited for Friday night's broadcast. It'll either be at 7 or 7:30. Make sure you check in and find out game time. But we will be there broadcasting the game live on Friday night. We're excited for you, Coach, for week one. We're excited for week one of Plainfield football. Let's get a big win, and we'll look forward to talking to you next Monday.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate you.